Continuing from where we started. Sorry, where we left. Let me check. 29, 2.29. We are on 30. Okay. So yeah. So last time we discussed about the soul. Okay. So what Krishna says is that there was never a time that you didn't exist, I didn't exist, and neither and all of those present in front of us are existing. Okay. Yeah. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all the kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So what does that mean is that we are always living. So then exactly what is death? What happens at death? So there he says that there is a conscious living entity within the body that moves out when the person dies. The embodied soul. Dehino sim yata dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tata dehantar prapti dhirasat. He says the soul, which is not matter, but it is spirit, that at the time of death moves from the dead body to another living body and gives life to it. And the soul is the one that is passing all the consciousness, the awareness of the body. And then we went into the more details, 23, 25. What is this soul? The soul cannot be cut by weapons, burned by fire, moistened by water, withered by wind, unbreakable, cannot be burnt, insoluble, cannot be tried, everlasting, ever existing, unchangeable, immovable, eternally the same, imperceptible, inconceivable, immutable, like without changes. So all these are the characteristics we went through. What this means is the soul is antimatter. Interesting, right? Because anything with the matter, like earth, water, fire, air, you cannot touch it. You cannot break it, you cannot cut it. So it is antimatter. Antimatter is a scientific term. Another term is spiritual. Spiritual means matter cannot touch it. Okay. So we went through this, and then what exactly is the soul, how it is entrapped. I drew this diagram. So this blue thing is a soul. This is another person actually. It's a person. This is really we are. Okay. Around this is the green body. And this green body is subtle. It's like a software. Subtle. Mind, intelligence, false ego. Software, we know on our laptop, our mobiles, there is software running, right? So, but where exactly it is? It is in the subtle part of it. It is in the subtle part of it. So similarly, the mind, intelligence, where it is? It's subtly there, present. Okay. So that is the subtle body. Then comes the gross body of physical body, which is our bones, flesh, skin, which is made of earth, water, fire, air, which is why this brown. So this brown is what we see. Okay. So this is what we see, which is the gross physical body. And the software that is running is the mind. And here is the soul, which is actually seeing what is happening through the body, which is just a machine. The eyes are like camera, the hands are like pneumatic machines, the legs are like tires, the liver is like a radiator. The heart we know is a pump. This is a scientific term, pump. They call it a pump. Last time we discussed about pacemaker. The pacemaker gives electric pulses to the heart. So when the pacemaker is not there, who is giving electric pulses? That is the soul. Okay. So, any questions on that? This is the most important concept, the soul. We went through some proofs also in our earlier sessions. Intuition, like me and my body is different. Um, Second is reincarnation, remembering past life, near death experience, out of body experience. All these things tends to tell us that there is something beyond our body, and our body is separate from our real self. Okay, and Bhagavad Gita says that thing is called the soul, the Atma. And because the soul is not going to die, Arjuna, you don't be so worried. Oh, they will get killed and all. But then last time we discussed one thing. If nobody dies, then technically, one person can come and say that, oh, even if I kill a person, it's okay. Because according to Bhagavad Gita, they eternally live. They actually never die. So what is wrong in that statement? We discussed this last time. Any comment? What is wrong if a person comes and says, because we are all souls, even if somebody gets killed, it doesn't matter. Like this war is going on. People are getting killed. Bhagavad Gita says they will eternally live. So then, the aggressor may come and say, okay, they are going to eternally live. So even if they die, it doesn't matter. What is the problem with this statement?
Because you don't have the authority to kill someone, and if you can't give life, you cannot take life.
Right. You can only uh, take life if there is authority. It's a very big authority, right? Like if there are prisoners on death row where they have committed some terrible crime, and the judge takes time to decide what kind of punishment should be there. And if they come to conclusion that this is a very heinous crime and the person has to be hanged or killed because he killed and he did something, his life has to be taken. They don't immediately do that. Then after that, they give a sentence. Yes, he has to be killed. Then that prisoner can appeal, and that appeal takes some few years. And then after years of it, they decide whether to kill him or not. So justice system that we have, and previously we had kings, they wouldn't easily take this decision of taking life. It's only in a very rare situation, like if there are aggressor, if there's a battle, when you have to kill, you have to save somebody, you have to save yourself. All these scenarios are authoritative in taking another's life. Okay, so the authority is needed to take the life. So because the authority is not there, you cannot just apply. One cannot just apply. Oh, let's kill everybody. They are just souls; they will never die. No, life is given. The nature gives the life. The nature takes away the life. In between, if somebody wants to take away the life, there has to be authority. There has to be very good reason, especially like criminal and all that. So okay. Last time we discussed that, and then so then Krishna says in 29 is that people know about this concept of soul, okay, and they may describe it as amazing, ashcharya, amazing. It may not be easy to understand all this. So he says that some describe him as amazing, some hear of him as amazing, some even after hearing him cannot understand him at all. So it is difficult to understand. So one has to go through spiritual practice to really understand he is not a body but soul. Okay, now let's move to the today's text. Text number 30. Dehi nityam avadhyo ayam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani nattam sochitum arhasi. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, he need not grieve for any living being. Grieve means lament, and we discussed. Lament means wailing, disappointment, This is like, deep grief. One will get carried away by it. So what Krishna says is that death definitely disturbs us, but don't get too much carried away by it. Now then, how to face it? Say, one of your relative dies or something happens. See, people are dying now. Now, how to look at it? Krishna is saying, do not grieve. What is your opinion? If we are seeing so many deaths happen, should we grieve or not grieve? Or what should be done? Tell me. Any thought?
We should. It's natural to grieve, right? I mean, how can we
Yes, it's
not
natural to grieve. Yeah.
grieve if if someone we are attached to passes away, or someone we love, or
Right.
so I think it's natural to grieve.
Now then, if Krishna is saying not to grieve, what does this mean? What do you think? It's natural to grieve, and Krishna is saying do not grieve. Okay, we are all in India. So in India, what happens? A person say dies. What do the family members do?
In Hindus, we burn them
Yeah, that
in.
burn is fine. After that, what they do? What is the exact ritual?
We burn them, then we collect the ashes.
Okay.
We put it away in the sea.
The sea or in the holy river.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And
Um,
then we start again with our normal life.
yes, we do.
In between, we do something.
But that
There is
takes
a period,
time.
right? There's a period. There's a 10-day period.
Yes.
Yeah. That 10-day period is mourning period. That is the time you should grieve. And after the 10th day, when you do puja and all that, on the 13th day, whatever, you should slowly come out of that grief. So that is how the Vedic process is. It is natural to grieve, but don't get carried away throughout. Come out of it. So that 10-day period is given. So grieve for that time, then slowly come out. Know that the soul has passed, it has taken new body somewhere else, according to its karma and desire and all that. Daivi. Getting? This is what he means. Do not grieve, do not get carried away. See, if I say Arjuna got carried away by the thought that so many relatives will die, what is the problem with that? What exactly he did that was a problem? Carried away means what? I'll show you the picture and then you tell me what is. Let's see. Yeah. So this is the picture, and Krishna is telling Arjuna. Actually, this is not. Let me get another picture quickly. Okay, I got it. Just let me show you. Okay. Okay. If you look at this picture, Arjuna is saying, Krishna is saying to him, do not grieve. What do you suggest here? What is happening?
Arjuna is sad, maybe because he has to
Yeah.
fight his own family, or maybe
Right.
he killed his own family.
No, he has not killed yet, but
Okay, yeah. So
he's
yeah,
sad. He's sad by the
yeah,
proposition that
he has
uh,
to stand against his own family members.
okay.
I think the problem with this is that when you grieve for a long, you carried away with the grief, then you forgot some important things. I mean, which has to be taken care.
What he did he forget? What do you see in this picture? It's very clear. I mean, it's clear. Let's discuss. He's supposed to be carrying something. What happened?
So he's the maybe for now. I guess he's not following the order of Supreme Lord.
No, that's fine. But what he has done?
He's
See, there are
he
two. Okay, let's compare one more picture, and we will understand.
maybe he's not following his duty. He doesn't have his uh, weapon. If I'm not, if he
Yes,
doesn't,
yes, yes. What he doesn't have in his hand.
his bow and arrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me just paste. See, somebody grieving would forget what he's supposed to do. Right?
Right.
So that is the problem. He left everything. He was supposed to be like this, ready to fight, but he dropped everything. If you look at the contrast, should be doing like this. But what he has done, he's dropped, his helmet is not there, arrows are falling off, he's holding his hand. If Indian army somebody does like this, what do you think will happen? He has to be there, up and fighting. But look at what he happened. He grieved so much that he was carried away. Even before the war, he was carried away. And he's saying, I don't want to fight, I don't want to fight. The Indian army, he stands at the border and says, I don't want to fight. The army person, what will they say? What are you telling? You are trained to fight. You fight. Getting? So this was the problem with the grief. So therefore, Krishna said, don't grieve, don't get carried away. Don't get carried away. Now, does that help you understand what Bhagavad Gita is telling?
But will this not
Yeah.
make us too emotionless, or just maybe too much practical, considering we are not in the army, or we don't have to get ourselves involved in a war. Like if we practice this in our daily life, so I mean, don't you think we'll end up becoming
See, that's
too
what I
much?
explained, right? That the Vedic system is, it gives a time to grieve. Then one has to come out of it. Okay. So it's not like it's negating the grief, but it's telling that you understand the bigger picture. The grief is there because you lost somebody very close who was there with you for a long time. You were having relationship with that person, emotions, feelings, and all that. Now that person is no more, not to see. Therefore, naturally there will be some sadness. But take to the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, understand what happens after death. It is the body that will anyway die, but the soul will pass on and will get new body. By that understanding, come out of that grief. That is why the 10-day period is given. Okay? So it is not to become heartless. It is to become to understand what is the bigger picture. If let's say India-Pakistan match, they lose. Some people get into grief. They break their television. Some get into deep grief. Some South Indian actor dies. Then after that, some people become so grieved that they also commit suicide. Have you heard about this? Have you heard about this?
No.
No, in South India, it is like that. South India, any big actor has died, right? He has taken with him hundreds.
Oh God.
Yeah, in Tamil, in Andhra Pradesh, there was this minister, Reddy. He crashed in a helicopter. After that, some few people committed suicide. So that is being carried away by that greed. Okay, that is what Krishna is saying not to do. Don't get carried away by the greed. Does this help now? You have some question?
Yeah, it does help. Like
Hmm.
it basically it gives times us more, but uh it it just tells us that, you know, like, yeah, you take your time, then you move on, and then
Yeah.
again you go back to your duty.
Yes. Now, yeah. Now we'll get into the purport. Any question, Harish, from you?
No, Prabhu. It's fine.
Oh,
Understood.
oh, oh. So the same point will come in the purport. The Lord now concludes the chapter of instruction on immutable spirits. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna established the soul is immortal and body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, should not abandon his duty. Grieving led to abandonment. Abandonment means you cease to support, you just leave. खाली हाथ छोड़ दो. That should not happen. You should not just abandon it. छोड़ दिया ना उसने सब कुछ. He dropped his bow. He didn't know what to do. He just sat down there. ये सब नहीं करना है. Out of fear for that his grandfather and teacher Bhishma and Drona will die in the battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that the soul is different from the material body. So on the authority of Sri Krishna, on the authority of Bhagavad Gita, we accept that the soul is the one that passes from one body to another. Not that there is no such as thing as soul, or that living symptoms develop at certain age of material maturity resulting from interaction of chemicals. This is today's science, what it says, that it is a product of material matter. Some chemicals they come and they get life and then it dies. That's not it. On the authority of Bhagavad Gita and Shri Krishna, we accept that the soul is spiritual. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged. Okay, this is the point I again discussed. Soul will never die, but that doesn't mean you can do, or somebody can do full scale killing. No. But at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there's an actual need for it. If there is a need, if the policeman sees that the other guy is not ready to stop, he can use deadly force, and that deadly force can lead to that person's death. Agreed? So if the need is there, then do it. That need must be justified in terms of sanction of the law and not capriciously. Capricious means whimsically. Capricious. Fickle. Unstable. Volatile. Mercurial. Irregular. Haphazard. Random. It should not be randomly. Last time we talked about this person, right? Amon Goeth. This guy. He was a Nazi officer and he had the reputation of what? From the balcony of his home, he would kill anybody for any reason and for no reason, just for fun. This is not what is recommended. Just because you have power doesn't mean you can take life and you can give you can take it like that. Okay. Now 2.31. Now from 2.31, Krishna is going to talk about Sakam Karma Yoga. We do our duty to get some result. We have the desire. I will do this thing, then I will get that. Okay. So now, how to do our duty? That is the question. Krishna is going to say. Krishna is saying we cannot grieve like this. Sab kuch chhod diya. That is not it. But then we can fight. But there are two ways to do any action. read this, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, no, I have to change font. Okay, anyway. 2 ways. So first he says, don't give up your duty. Okay. Now he says there are 2 ways to do or perform your duty. One is with desire for the fruit or result. Second is without desire for the fruit or result. What does this mean is, first one is with desire. I will do this activity because I will get something. Like a businessman, he says, I will invest in this company or I'll buy this thing because I'll get out of it something, some desire he has. So therefore he does his duty. I'll get salary. Therefore I do. Second is without desire. Hey, whether I get the fruit or not, I will still do. Like, army person or let's say doctor. They do their duty. When a doctor saves somebody, that person says, oh, you saved me. What does the doctor say? I did my duty. If a police saves a person, and if you say, here, take 50 lakh rupees because you saved him, the police will say, true police, huh? He will say, I don't want the money. I did my duty. Okay, so his motivation of the commit of doing that activity, any action, any duty, is not that he wants something. Like mother, father, when they take care of the baby, do they think about it that this baby will give them something? Does a
No.
parent think? No, right? When we make friendship, sometimes friendship is out of, I want something from him, therefore I'll make friendship from him. That is low class friendship. High class friendship is you become friends, but you don't expect from that person, right? Or you don't see that, oh, I will take advantage of his position, his status. That kind of friendship doesn't last long. So where there is done without desire, that is higher. So it's called nishkam karma. And this is sakam karma. Okay. Sakam karma means I will do an activity because I will get something. If I don't get something, I won't do that activity. Nishkam karma is whether I get out of it or don't get out of it, anything out of it, I will still do. Like mother, father. Mother, father is a very nice. Actually, mother is even better example. She puts her whole life, right? The baby, the child, the toddler, But she doesn't expect, okay, tomorrow I'll get my salary. After 1 month of work, I will get my daycare salary. Mother doesn't expect at all. Mother, father, right? So that is nishkam karma. So first Krishna is saying, okay, first he says, don't give up your duty. Don't be like this. Okay, don't give up. Don't put down your weapon and all that. Stand up, fight. If you want to fight, there are 2 ways. You fight with something like, okay, I'm going to get the kingdom and all. That is one way to think. Second is, whether I get the kingdom or don't get, I will still do my duty. My duty as a Kshatriya is to fight. Whether I lose or win, I don't care. I will fight to my best ability. So that is Nishkam Karma. So Krishna is going to talk about these 2 things. And he's going to say, Nishkam Karma Yoga is better than Sakam Karma. The reason is, in Sakam Karma Yoga, if you do with a desire for the fruit, then you have to face the result of it. Okay? And that takes us you to the next life. Nishkam Karma Yoga, you do it without desire. So that fruit doesn't apply to you. Okay. You become free from that attachment. Okay, we'll get more into it, but just a overview. Swadharmam api chavekshya न विकम्पितुम अर्हसि धर्म्याद्धि युद्ध श्रेयो अन्यात् क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते. Consider your specific duty as a Kshatriya. You should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles. So there is no need for hesitation. So wherever you are hesitating, don't worry about that, because this is, you are fighting for the right cause. Duryodhan and party have been very evil to you. They are not giving you a rightful kingdom. They sent you to 14 years of exile, and when you have come back, they are saying they won't give. That is injustice, right? At the time of the dice match, they said that you will go to an exile, and when you come back, then we'll give you the kingdom. And exactly that thing happens. Now he's not giving. So they did negotiations, 3, 4, 5 negotiations. Nothing happened. Duryodhana said, I won't give a land which is equal to a tip of a needle. So then these are Pandavas, these are fighters. They said, we are not going to sit like that. We asked for 5 villages, and he's saying he doesn't want to even give one tip of a land. Then they say there will be no more negotiations. All negotiations end. Now there will be war. In the start of the war, Arjuna is thinking that so many people will die and all that. My own people will die, so I don't want to fight. So Krishna gives the knowledge of soul, and he says in that. And then he says that you are fighting for the right reason. So don't be afraid. Don't be hesitating. If you're doing it for the right reason, should you be hesitating? No, right? If you know that's the right thing to do, will you hesitate? No. So Krishna is saying, okay, let's get to the purport. Out of the 4 orders of social administration, the second order for the matter of good administration is called Kshatriya. Shata means hurt. One who gives protection from harm is called Kshatriya. Trayate, to give protection. So Kshatriya doesn't mean fight. Kshatriya means to give protection. If there is a need to fight, you fight. That's what it means. So what is Kshatriya? Kshatriya doesn't mean fighter actually. Kshatriya means a fighter who will give protection, who will fight in order to give protection, not for any aggressive reason. This is important to understand, because anybody can say, I am also a fighter and I will fight. Then he is not a Kshatriya. Kshatriya will fight only when he has to give protection. That's a very important thing. The Kshatriya trained for killing in the forest. Now, when they want to fight, they have to be merciless, right? So they sometimes go for hunting and they kill the animals by their own hands, because they have to practice. And animals are such thing that they will also attack, and they are also fearless. So there will be a fight. The Kshatriya will learn to fight over there. He will show his skills of fighting. So sometimes, the Kshatriyas are allowed to do hunting. The Kshatriya would go into the forest and challenge a tiger face to face and fight with the tiger with his sword. When the tiger was killed, it would be offered the royal order of crimination. So the tiger would be given a royal order of crimination. The system has been followed up to the present day by the Kshatriya kings of Jaipur state. The Kshatriya are especially trained for challenging and killing, because religious violence is sometimes a necessary factor. So for violence, you have to be having less mercy. Non-violence in politics may be diplomacy. So non-violence, it could be diplomacy, but it's never a factor of principle. Never a factor of principle. What it means is that non-violence in politics is only for some time. For all times, it is not working. Okay? When you have to sometimes use violence. In the religious law books, it is said. So these are in the battlefield, a king or a Kshatriya, while fighting another king envious of him, is eligible for achieving the heavenly planets after death. And the Brahmanas also attain heavenly planet by sacrificing animals in the sacrificial fire. Therefore, killing on the battlefield on religious principle and killing animals in sacrificial fire are not at all considered to be acts of violence, because everyone is benefited by the religious principles involved. The animal sacrifice gets a human life immediately without undergoing the gradually evolutionary process from one form to another. And the Kshatriya killed in the battle also attains the heavenly planets. So do the Brahmanas who attain them by offering sacrifice. So what it means is that the Shastra says that the Kshatriyas, when they fight in the battlefield and they give their life over there, then they achieve heavenly planets. The next life is in the heavenly planet. So it is not a loss for them. And the Brahmanas, they do sacrifice of animals in the sacrificial fire. There, what happens in everyone's front of eye, in the front of everyone's eyes, the animal takes the new body. Okay, that is a test of animal sacrifice, which is today not possible. So therefore, animal sacrifice are not recommended. But in the Vedas time, they were recommended. They were followed because the Brahmanas were pure. They would sacrifice the animal and the animal would get life in front of them. Interesting, right? So today it is not possible. There are two kinds of swadharma. Swadharma means specific duties. As long as one is not liberated, one has to perform the duties of this particular body in accordance with religious principle in order to achieve liberation. When one is liberated, one's swadharma, specific duty, becomes spiritual and is not in the material concept, bodily concept. In the bodily concept of life, there are specific duties for Brahmana and Kshatriya respectively, and such duties are unavoidable. Swadharma is ordained by the law, and this will be clarified in the 4th chapter. Our bodily plane Swadharma is called Varnashrama Dharma, or man's stepping stone for spiritual understanding. Human civilization begins with the stage of Varnashrama Dharma, or specific duties in terms of specific modes of nature or the body obtained. Discharging one specific duty in any field of action in accordance with the order of higher authorities serves to elevate one to a higher status of life. So this is some details. What it says is Swadharma. So if you see, this verse also started like this, Swadharma. So Swadharma means our duties. What is our duty? So when we are not liberated means when we are not fully spiritual, we have to do our material duties. But when we become spiritual, complete spiritual, then whatever activity we do, material, spiritual, that is all spiritual. But till the point we don't come to the spiritual platform, we have to do our other duties. Okay, that all duties are explained in Varnashram Dharma. So Varna, Ashrama, Dharma are two types of dharma, where one is called Varna. Varna means it's like occupation. Occupation, or let's say, some liking to do something. So there are some, who like to read, who like to discuss philosophy, like that. So they are kind of Brahmanas. Then there are some who like to be politicians, who like to go on the road, administer. They want to fight. They are Kshatriyas. This is Varna I'm talking. Third is they don't like to fight, they don't like to study, but they want to earn money. They know how to do business. They understand what is profit, loss, etc. So they become Vaishyas. And then the fourth, they are not interested in politics and administration. They are not interested in fighting. They're not interested in business. They just want to work and get their salary. That is Shudra. And then there is Ashrama. Ashrama is a progress in spiritual life. So first is Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means where one studies, they get trained. How to behave properly, how to have character, what is the knowledge, what is there in the Shastras, Nyaya, everything. Then after studying, when they reach at the age of like 20, 24, whatever, then they can see if they can continue like that unmarried. But most of them married, 99% people marry. So then move from Brahmacharya to Grihastha Ashram, where one marries with a woman and they have children and they follow all the duties of the married life. Then after some years of marriage, that is almost like 25 years of marriage, children have grown. So then one need not be taking care of them and take to spiritual life more. Take more to spiritual life. That stage is called Vanaprastha stage. And then one is completely spiritual. He doesn't want to have any connection with everyone. And he's completely dependent on the Lord. He takes to sannyas, the monk. So that all is there in the Varnashram Dharma, where specific duties are mentioned. Till the point you reach the spiritual, complete spiritual. Okay, so it's meant for progress of spiritual understanding. यदृशि चोपपन्नम स्वर्गद्वारम अपावृतम सुखिनः क्षत्रिय पार्थ लभ्यन्ते युद्धम ईदृशम्. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such a fighting opportunity come unsought, opening for them the doors of heavenly planets. Now here, what kind of karma is Krishna recommending? If you read this, what is he recommending? One or two? Sakam karma or Nishkam karma? What is he recommending?
Sakam karma.
Yeah, he's saying, oh, if you fight, then you'll go to heavenly planets. Therefore you fight. Like all our parents say. You do this exam nicely, then you'll get a good job. They show us that fruit, which is also right. There's nothing wrong in it. Okay? But it is still with a motivation. Now, if the motivation is such that it is motivated with a fruit in front, then if the fruit is not there, one won't study. Right? One will say, okay, I'll study only 10th standard or maybe 12th standard. Till that point, I won't study. That doesn't make sense, right? So that's the thing. That's the problem with this Sakam. But here Krishna is using that first. He's saying, okay, you'll get heavenly planets. At least fight for that. Make sense? But you will see how Krishna, how Arjuna is beyond this. As supreme teacher of the Lord, of the world, Lord Krishna condemns the attitude of Arjuna, who said, I do not find any good in this fighting. I will cause perpetual habitation in hell. So in the previous chapter, he said this thing. He didn't find any good in the fighting. So he said, hey, there is some good. You will go to at least heavenly planet, right? That is good. So why are you saying such thing? Krishna is saying like that. Such statements by Arjuna were due to ignorance only. He had forgotten. He wanted to become non-violent in the discharge of his specific duty. So he was a fighter and he wanted to be non-violent. Doesn't make sense, right? For a Kshatriya to be on the battlefield and to become non-violent is a philosophy of fools. In the start, I was saying, if an army person doesn't fight, then he's actually court-martialed. Right? If an army person doesn't follow the order, then he's court-martialed. Court-martial means he's removed. He's not given any benefits, nothing. So that is nothing but philosophy of. In the Parashara Smriti, religious code made by Parashara, the great sage and father of Vyasadeva, it stated, the Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizen. Now, this is a very interesting statement. Protect. Protect is the right word. A fighter is meant to protect, not to be aggressive. From all kinds of difficulties. For that reason, he has to apply violence in suitable cases of law and order. Therefore, he has to conquer the soldiers of inimical kings, and thus, with religious principle, he should rule over the world. So, for the right reason, he has to use the violence. Considering all aspects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. If he should conquer his enemies, he would enjoy the kingdom. And if he should die in the battle, he would be elevated to the heavenly planets, whose doors were wide open to him. Fighting would be for his benefit in either case. Okay, so fighting is beneficial. Okay. Athachetam evam dharmam sangramam na karishyasi tatha swadharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avyapsasi. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will be certainly incur sins of neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. So I was talking about court martial. So Krishna is saying, so in that time, in the Vedic times, court martial is this. You will lose reputation and you will incur sin. It's a crime not to perform your duty. Arjuna was a famous fighter and he attained fame by fighting many great demigods, even Lord Shiva. After fighting and defeating Lord Shiva, he, in the dress of hunter, Arjuna pleased the Lord and received the reward as a weapon called the Pashupati Astra. Everyone knew that he was a great boy. Even Dronacharya gave him benedictions and awarded him a special weapon by which he could kill even his teacher. So he was credited with so many material certificates from many authorities, including his adoptive father Indra. The heavenly kingdom. But if he abandoned the battle, not only would he neglect his specific duty as a Kshatriya, but he would lose all his fame and good name and just prepare his royal road to hell. In other words, he would go to hell by not by fighting, but by withdrawing from battle. Now, if you know that if a person gets into NDA, in NDA, National Defense Academy, Pune, and he does the training and all that, but then he decides he doesn't want to become an army officer. You know what happens? What does the army tell you?
No.
The army tells you if you want to go, pay this much amount and go. Maybe like 25 lakhs or something will be put in so much into you, and you have to pay this and you have to go. So this is the thing. That so much effort was put, and even Arjuna had got weapons from Shiva, Dronacharya, and Indra. It's very difficult to get, and then he doesn't fight. We'll say what kind of person you are. So he will lose his reputation. Like sometimes these athletes, they go to Olympics. Now in weightlifting or in boxing or wrestling, right? They have to maintain weight. A certain weight is required, and if they don't maintain that weight, then they are not even allowed to take part. So in one of the Asian Games, one wrestler from India, he went there, but he ate so much that he became overweight. So they didn't allow him to take part. And when he came back from that place, from the Asian Games, he was ridiculed. That he was supposed to do that and take care of his weight. He knew that, but silly mistake. So he lost his reputation, right? So that's the thing. So Krishna is saying, he said, you will lose that reputation. Parents also say, I put money in so much of after you. I sent you to this class, that class, and now you don't want to give that exam. You leave, then it's very heartbreaking. So anyway, point is, when we have to do duty, do it best. Put our whole heart in it, and then leave the result on God. That's it. Akirtim chapi bhutani kathashyanti te avyayam sambhavitasya chakirtir maranad adichivyate. People will always speak of your infamy, and for respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Okay, I'll tell you a story. Okay, he was a general from Pakistan, and in 1971 he signed the surrender paper. He signed the surrender paper, and 90,000 soldiers was surrendered. And after the war, let's put this, his name was A.K. Nyazi, instrument of surrender. He's signing that. And after the war, this person didn't return to Pakistan because he had lost complete reputation, and everyone blamed him. This was the guy who made surrender. This was the guy. So for many years, he didn't go only to Pakistan. And when he went there, he was not given respect. So Krishna is saying the same thing. You are a fighter. If you say you don't fight, then you will lose respect, reputation. Both as a friend and philosopher to Arjuna, Lord Krishna now gives his final judgment regarding Arjuna's refusal to fight. The Lord says, Arjuna, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you coward. And if you think that people may call you bad names, but that will save your life by fleeing the battlefield, then my advice is that you do better to die in a battle. It's better to die in a battle. They Pakistan expected that that general die, but not surrender. Today's Ukrainian president is saying the same thing. He won't surrender. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than death. So you should not flee for fear of your life. Better to die in the battle. That will save you from ill fame of misusing my friendship and from losing your prestige in society. It's a question of prestige also. So the final judgment of the Lord was that for Arjuna, die in the battle, not withdraw. So this was for Arjuna, okay? Don't withdraw, but fight. In the Vedic knowledge is not like you just die in the battle. No, you fight to the best of your ability, and if unfortunate, then you will die. But if you lose also, then you surrender. There's no problem in it. So it doesn't mean that every time you have to die. No, it's not like that. Okay. But for Arjuna, Krishna is saying that thing because Arjuna was of a very great caliber. He could understand this thing. So for him, he said, you should fight. If you should die, that is good. Right? For a fighter, death on a battle is great. Let's read this verse. Bhayad ranad uparatam mamshante tava maharatah yesam tvam bahumato bhutva yashasi lagavam. The great general who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only. Dar ke bhag gaya. Right? And they will consider you insignificant. Tuchha. Chota admi. Like that. They consider kya hai? Darbok. We have heard this word. Right? So that's what Krishna is saying. Lord Krishna continued to give his verdict to Arjuna. Do not think that the great generals like Duryodhana, Karna and other contemporaries will think that you have left the battle out of compassion for your brothers and grandfather. They are not going to think like that. They will say you are a coward. They will think that you are left out of fear for life. And thus the high estimation of your personality will go to hell. So whatever respect they have, they will just drop it. They won't continue with it. Okay, let's do this verse also. Avachya vadamsya bahun vidishanti tavahitah nindanti stava samarthyam tatho dukkha taram nukim. Your enemies will describe you in unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? Parents, Krishna is talking to your parent, na? वो बाजू वाला देख वो कैसा कर रहा है, तुम देखो कैसा कर रहे हो. Krishna is talking exactly like this, right? What will people say if you don't study? It will be more painful for you. You will lose reputation. What is the face I have to show? So when somebody talks like this, it is mostly motivated by sakama karma. It's with the desire of the fruit. So this is what Krishna is saying. Why he's saying this is that if Arjuna desires for sakam, then he will do it. He will stand up and say, yes, I want heavenly planets. I want the kingdom. So I will fight. Fine. That is also fine with Krishna. Right? Because that is not giving up duty. No? If a soldier fights in the battle and he says, I will fight and I will kill as many people. I'm looking for that Paramvir Chakra. I'm looking for promotion. He may have these kind of desires. But the army general says, okay, fine. Well, other soldier says, I don't care whether I get Paramvir Chakra or not. I will fight as my duty. So that is Nishkam Karma. So Krishna is first he's saying, okay, will you fight for Sakam Karma? Will you fight for desire or for fruit? Will you fight? So he's asking Arjuna that. Then he's going to say, better than that is that you fight without desire. That is the later part. So Lord Krishna was astonished at the beginning at Arjuna's uncalled for plea of compassion. And he described his compassion as befitting the non-Aryans. So now in so many words, he has proved his statements against Arjuna's so-called compassion. He says there is no need to keep compassion. They are not going to think good of you. Okay, we have some time. Let's finish this. 37. Hato va prapyashi swargam jitva va mokshashe mahim tasmad uttishta kaunteya yudhyaya krita nishchaya. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed in the battle, attain the heavenly planet, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. You will get the kingdom. Therefore, get up and determination and fight. Therefore, get up and with determination and fight. Even though there is no certainty of victory for Arjuna's side, he still had to fight. And for even being killed there, he could be elevated into heavenly planet. What he's saying, if you die, you'll go to heavenly planet. If you win, you will get the kingdom. Both are win-win situation. So therefore you fight. So therefore there is sakam karma. There is a lot of desire for food, intense desire for food. So Krishna is testing Arjuna. Do you want to fight for this desire? And we will see what Arjuna replies. Okay. So we'll stop here. 2.38 we'll do next week. Any questions, comments? We can open up for questions or comments. Any questions, any comments?
No, sir.
Okay. So if you don't have any questions, comments, fine. Let's meet next week. We'll continue from 2.38. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.